Atariwas, we're glad to have you on this edition of the Press today on your Pan-African television, African Media. Our first stop will be in Zambia. We'll be looking at the Post newspaper. The Post has on its front page, by-election slums in Sulawesi East. According to Sulawesi East MMD Member of Parliament Richard Taima, there will be a serious electoral showdown in Sulawesi should his party go ahead with its latest plans to put down those serving in the current government. Still in the paper, Winter Kabimba have said he has no ambition of becoming Republican president. He added that the Patriotic Front's victory in the Mufumbwe parliamentary by-elections is a rejection of tribalism and regionalism propagated by the opposition during the campaigns. Kabimba revealed he was comfortable with his current position as PF Secretary General and Justice Minister and serving under President Michael Sata. Now looking at Business Day in Nigeria, according to oil majors, the Petroleum Industry Bill PIB currently before the National Assembly, if passed, will make it uncomfortable for new investment worth $108 billion to go ahead. The $108 billion of new investment is the sum of the planned capital expenditure of all the oil majors from 2012 to 2025. Thus will raise the country's oil production per day by 64% to about 4 million barrels per day from its current average of slightly over 2 million barrels per day. You can also read on stories like Federal Roads versus State Roads still on Business Day in Nigeria. Making a stop in South Africa, we'll be looking at Business Day South Africa. According to Business Day South Africa's troubled civil aviation sector is facing a new storm with the disclosure on Monday that none of the country's estimated 10,000 commercial and general pilots in about 14,000 aircrafts are properly licensed. The disclosure by Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association of South Africa President Corey Marias will raise questions about pilot competency and aircraft safety. The paper also writes that the U.S. will overtake Saudi Arabia and Russia to become the world's largest oil producer by 2070, according to the International Energy Agency IEA, in one of the clearest signs of how the shale revolution is redrawing the energy landscape. Read more on Business Day South Africa. Still in South Africa, this time around we're looking at Cape Times. In the journal, it's written that farm workers' strike is likely to spread beyond the Hex River Valley as talks with farmers over improved wages, living and working conditions collapse. Unions in coalition with NGOs have warned that the strike that started in the Dead Dawns last week was just the beginning, and they have planned to continue strikes over the next couple of weeks. 2 people were hurt and some 12 arrested on Monday in another day of violence. The paper also writes that Lance Armstrong has stepped down as the board member of Livestrong, the cancer support charity he founded in 1997. Visit Cape Town, South Africa for more details. Now we're looking at the Post newspaper from Cameroon. The Post carries on its cover page the caption, Biya will be fictitious president without majority. Speaking to CBDM Comrades, the President of the National Assembly, Kavajeje Jibril, said President Biya will become an infant and a fictitious president if he does not get majority in Parliament, Senate, and the councils. The House Speaker said the upcoming elections are more important than the presidential elections. Read on page 2 for more details on this story. Still in its front page, the Post has a story about the chair of the ELECAM who says expired identity cards shall be rejected. Find out more on the story on page 6 of the Post newspaper. Making a stop in Asia, we'll be looking at the International Herald Tribune. In the paper, it's written, Syria draws Turkey and Israel closer to conflict. Syria on Monday pulled Turkey and Israel closer to military entanglement in its civil war, bombing a rebel-held Syrian village a few meters from the Turkish border in a deadly area assault. This provoked Israel tank commanders in the disputed Golan Heights into blasting mobile Syrian artillery units across their own armistice line. The paper also writes that one of the most powerful former Mujahideen commanders in Afghanistan, Ismail Khan, has called on his followers to reorganize and defend the country as Western militaries withdraw a direct public demonstration of faltering confidence in the national government of President Hamid Karzai and the Western-built Afghan National Army. Still in Asia, I'll be looking at the Wall Street Journal. According to this paper, for Tim Love, a vice chairman of the advertising giant Omnicom Group, it was an opportunity too good to pass up an entire country off the map for most Western investors for decades, embracing foreign investment in Myanmar with untapped energy resources and 60 million people. In another development, Japan's policymakers will likely face greater pressure to enhance growth after data Monday showing a sharp contraction in the third quarter forced the economic ministers to accept the possibility that the country is already in recession. Read more on the Wall Street Journal Asia for more information. Now looking at the Gulf News, according to Gulf News, the Six Nation Gulf Cooperation Council on Monday recognized the newly formed National Coalition of the Syrian Opposition as the legitimate representative of the Syrian people. This was affirmed by the GCC Secretary General Abdul Latif Al-Zayani. In the paper, as cyber crimes are evolving fast in the UAE, laws have been changed to close gaps so that the cyber criminals can be brought to justice. Read on Gulf newspaper for more information. Our last stop will be in Europe. We'll be looking at the Wall Street Journal Europe. The paper has on its front page, IEA says U.S. to top Saudis in oil output. A shale oil boom would thrust the U.S. ahead of Saudi Arabia as the world's largest oil producer by 2020, a radical shift that could profoundly transform not just the world's energy supplies, but also its geopolitics. Also, according to the paper, Europe's biggest banks are continuing to stash more money at central banks, a move that reflects their lingering fears about the financial system despite signs of improvement. Visit the Wall Street Journal Europe for more information on these stories. That was all we had for you, but do stay on Afrique Media for more information.
Après 300 années de commerce,